Monday Soul Deliciousness. I'm going to give you a moment to hop on. As always, I love it if you say hello and where you're from, even if you're not on live. I still check the comments later. I'm going to show you something so freaking cool. Okay, so for those of you that follow me, especially if you are on my TikTok, um, I did this really cool video where I showed my jars that I have and made a comment that you can select your jar so that when I die, my kids will send you some ashes in a jar. So, anyways, I'm going to post the link. Although I'm so hesitant to share it because then I know that I have people that will buy the jars before I can get them. No, she's really good. So, um, this is Mama Star Seed Shop on Etsy, and I love her to death. She is just the most amazing artist. And in fact, she has on her page right now a Cheshire Cat jar that I am just, and an Alice in Wonderland caterpillar that jar that I am totally restraining myself from buying them because I get really out of control and I have to give myself limits or I will buy all of her jars. So I'm going to show you the jars that I just got and I'm going to put the link here. So here's the link to her shop. I'm just giving her a shout out before I do my Monday Soul Deliciousness so you can see these because they just came. So she does these jars and in each of the jars there is a like a stone. And so I'll show you the B one first. So it's really cool. So they're glass jars that she does. If you go to her Facebook page, which is the same name, you can also see how she makes them. So basically, they start out with a jar, then she puts the clay around them, and then she hand paints them. And if I hold it still, you can see. So there's a gem in the middle. Seriously, just because of what I'm doing here, you can't tell how cool they are from my camera. But this one has a bee on it. And then the other one I got is just stinking. It's so adorable. So this one I had to have. And also, I'm going to dedicate this one to my family because you all know why. This is the witch jar. I love it. It's from The Wizard of Oz. It has the Wicked Witch of the West and her feet and a little gem in it and the hat. Isn't that so stinking cool? So, anyways, I love her jars. They're so amazing. She's the one that also did my mug. It's somewhere over there, yonder way. My mug that is my Alice in Wonderland mug for Kinley. So I love her stuff. The mushroom jar on her site is so cool. She's got a dragon on there right now, but she can make you anything really. She'll custom order. You can tell her. Maybe she doesn't want me to tell you that, but she's doing mirrors right now. She just did a mirror that is a Nightmare Before no Alice in Wonderland mirror. She said she was going to start doing some Nightmare Before Christmas things, and we all know. Oh yeah, she has the Alice in Wonderland mirror on there. We all know if she does Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm just going to be in a lot of trouble because that's between that and Alice in Wonderland. Those are just my absolute favorites. Okay, so if you're new here, my name is Amy, and I love being able to help others. So I come on and do a Monday Soul Deliciousness every Monday. I also do personal one-on-one sessions with clients for releasing traumas and past emotions and also helping you understand your true self through human design. If that's something that you've never dove into, I'm telling you, it is an absolute life changer. But I like to go live on Mondays and just do something that's uplifting, something that is beneficial to everybody. So I'm going to get vulnerable. If you follow me, you also know that I like to keep it real. And it's kind of funny because someone made a comment, you know, haters going to hate, but people making comments about, not people, these are actually close people to me, making comments about how stupid my social media is. And I'm just like, here's the deal. Don't watch it if you don't like it. Like nobody's making you be here. I'm not going to not do it just because it's irritating someone when I know the people that are getting and benefiting from it, right? Because I have people message me that say, oh my gosh, I tried this technique, I did this, whatever. And, it's making my life so much better. So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to not do my page because you don't like it. So, that's the pro way of saying no. Okay. So this one, I thought, well, this is perfect because I had a really insanely emotional, insanely crazy week last week. And so I noticed today at work, I was just not in it. I was not feeling it. I'm usually the one in the room that's like super bubbly and helping everybody else to get their energy up. And I just couldn't do it. I was like, man, I'm just not feeling it. And as the day went on and I'm trying to fight through it, and I'm like, man, I got to align with myself with what the heck is going on here. So I did. And I actually love my coworkers. I have some super amazing, supportive coworkers. And, I just told them, I'm like, man, I just feel defeated. Like I'm having a hate on myself moment. And one of them said the perfect thing. Um, she said, right, Mercury in retrograde, and it feels like hell. I mean, I'm not going to lie that last week could have been one of the most emotional, insane weeks I have definitely had in a really long time, in a really, really long time. I had somebody send me a text that had some of the most hurtful words I have ever gotten before in my life. And it was quite eye-opening. So yes, I will say something is definitely, we'll blame it on Mercury retrograde. That sounds good, Okay. So my coworker said, feel it, do it, be in a moment. And then she said, just don't come back like that tomorrow. Right. And I thought this is perfect because sometimes we have to like continuing to deny how you're feeling, continuing to deny that you're not in a good space, continuing to deny that you feel defeated, continuing to deny that you are emotionally burned out or just hurt. Because that's what I was doing, because I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to acknowledge that someone could hurt me that way, that that could be happening to me, whatever. So I was trying to like push it off and then do the whole, I'm strong enough to make it through this. I'm not going to let this bother me. This is what I do for my passion and purpose is helping other people through the same thing. So I sometimes get in this space where I'm like, ooh, I know how to make it through this because I help other people with their traumas. And I had to just stop for a second and be like, no, feel all the feels. Let it come. Feel how you're feeling. Stop pushing it aside because that resistance is creating energy where I am not allowing myself to actually process the emotions because I don't want to accept that I'm actually feeling them. And so I loved like I said, I loved what my coworker said. You can be in this place today, allow yourself to be in this space. Just don't continue to be there, right? I don't want to be there again tomorrow. And I really took a second and I was like, give yourself some grace because this last week really has been an emotional hurricane. I literally feel like I have been eaten alive by people that I honestly don't think even know 3% of what they're talking about. And talk about feeling just super hurtful around people that are holding energies and holding feelings from 8 years ago that, they haven't even given you a chance to help them understand or work through it. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of negative energy to be hauling around like a ball and chain. And so, it also reminded me of the other day when my son said, there are 1,000 different versions of you. And he said, because every single person that has a different version of you. And it totally makes sense, right? And as I was talking to one of my friends, she said something about, and I've been friends with her, for 10 years probably. And she said the comment, she's like, I have never, ever, ever felt any negative energy around you. I have never felt scared of you. I've never felt intimidated by you. I've never felt whatever. And I was like, well, I can tell you why you haven't ever felt that way. And, you know, I'm going to come back to that in a second because it's really kind of wraps up my whole topic that I'm talking about. So, here I am this past week. I'm just dealing with some huge decisions. I'm trying to do the best thing for my kids. I'm trying to do the best thing for my situation. And I'm having um, emotional attachments to things that I'm trying to work through because I know that making decisions off of emotions is not the right thing to do. And I'm trying to align and listen and basically apply all the things that I know that I help my clients with. And at the same time, right, I'm trying to keep it together. I'm trying to keep it together for my kids. I'm trying to keep it together so that when I'm at work, I'm still functioning and I'm doing my job well and I'm still capable of, doing all the things that I need to do because I can't just throw it off to the side and, take the time that I would love to be able to take because that's just not the reality of it. So that's what I wanted to bring up tonight is like, how do I stay in this sane space? Because I really feel like that's something that through everything I've gone through, I've really had to master because, life beats you down so often. And when you feel like your world is literally crumbling around you, and then people are casting stones, right? Or you're literally out floating in a storm on a life preserver and people decide to smack you in the head with a freaking paddle, and a lot of times those are the people that you that are the closest to you, right? I also had this conversation with one of my really close friends that has been through lots of stuff. And I said to him, because he's like, man, I can tell something is wrong with you. And I'm like, I know, right? I'm really struggling this week. And he said, what's up? And when I told him, and I'm like, it just, I know better. I know that when you get into a space where you're really dealing with some really hard things, it is the time where you see who your true friends are. It is the time where you see who your family, the really supportive part of your family is. It's the make or break point, right? And it's sad that this is what happens, but I know that it does because I've been here already twice before with the passing of my first spouse and also the death of my daughter. And I know people are really, really ugly when you are in a space where you are really hurting. People get really, really ugly. And it's mind boggling to me. It's absolutely blows my mind away that when you are in a space where you are like at your lowest is when those people literally try to, hang you from a tree. And it's insane. But it happens. Third time's a charm, I guess, because here I am again. So what do I do? Because heaven forbid that I'm going to allow people to have power over me and how I'm feeling in my success in life. I certainly didn't get to the space that I'm at by relying on other people to get me here. So what do I do? So just like I told you, center and feel it. Feel it. The more you resist it, the more it's going to hang out. So sometimes you just have to take a second, even if it's a good cry, if it's go outside and scream your lungs out, go for a run, exercise, burn it off, do whatever you do, but allow yourself to feel it. So I'm not really great at feeling emotions. And so I like to really exercise and think about how I'm feeling and literally let it burn away. Every once in a while, I'll have a mental breakdown and I'll just like cry it all out, but that's not usually my best way to release stuff. It's just not how I am. But if you, find what works for you, because anything like exercising, crying, screaming, don't scream in your house with your kids in there so they're freaking out, or scream somewhere that people can literally, hear you scream into a pillow, scream outside. Just get it out, because those are all ways that you are expelling energy, expelling blocked emotions, expelling trapped things. Because if you don't do that, then they're going to literally bottle up inside in these little chemical, I like to think of them, imagine them however you will, but they literally become these little chemical reactions. They hang out in your body and then they create all kinds of things, right? When you've been under tons of stress, what happens? Another person I was talking to was like, keeps getting sick. And I'm like, what is wrong? And they were like, I think it's just all the stress, which I feel bad because now other people have just added to that stress. And I'm like feeling as though we're just making this person worse. because of the chaos that is going on that I'm unfortunately involved in. And it's like, please, can we just not do this? It's really not beneficial to anybody. Okay, the next thing is number 2, release self-judgment. What am I beating myself up over here? Lesson learned. Like if I've learned my lesson and I know what that lesson was and I learned it, guess what? Other people don't have the right, literally, to beat you down over something. Like it's not any of their business, one, but two, it's like, how is this affecting you? Remind me. It's not anything to do with you, yet, other people can be so judgmental, which then we've learned because of that to be really judgmental of ourselves. We judge other people because of how much we judge ourselves. And if you learn to let go of your self-judgment, you'll actually judge other people less. It's really cool. It's this mirror thing that I learned maybe like a year ago. Whatever you're doing to yourself is what you give off to other people. And so when people are like, oh, don't self-love because that's selfish, or, part of self-love is not judging, right? Don't judge yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. But people are like, oh, that's focusing on myself. The more you focus on yourself, you let go of self-judgment and you love who you are. Guess what happens? You automatically stop doing it to other people, because whatever you're harboring inside, whatever you're doing, you do it to others. That's just how it works. So if you're judging other people, it's because you're literally just doing all this self-judgment and you're projecting it out. So relieve self-judgment. What am I beating myself up over? Lesson learned. Things are not failures, guys. Things are places where we learn. Okay. So I just went through an issue where I gave in to some of my boundaries. And I know that looking back, I was like, okay, wait a minute. I kind of had to like disconnect and say, wow, I just created some chaos for myself. What did I do here? And in analyzing it, I was like, wow, I let some of my boundaries slide. And because I let some of my boundaries slide, I ended up in a position where I was not really in the space that I wanted to be. Now, I can keep beating myself up over that, or I can say, okay, you know what? This helps me to define my boundaries. Even they need to be put into a bolder definition, right? So instead of beating myself up, what am I going to do? I'm actually going to look at them and I'm going to make them more defined. And this time, it's like I had a fence, right? And my fence was made of something that didn't keep my boundaries in. It's just like my fences that I put horses in. Different fences, my horses will just blow through. Whereas, I change the fencing and my horses won't touch it. And it's kind of the same thing with my boundaries. I need to make my boundaries a little bit more defined so that I know exactly what my expectation for myself is. And someone told me today that they had a boundary and they actually put it on a Post-it note and they stuck it on the dash of their car, somewhere where they would see it every time a particular issue came up, so that it would remind them to, stay true to their boundaries. So I'm going to define my boundaries a little bit more. Next, ridding myself of expectations. Man, expectations of other people will take you to your knees. The problem with holding yourself up to expectations of other people are they all have different realities and they're not in your situation. So someone can look at my life today, right now in this moment, and judge and hold me up to this expectation of exactly how they think that I should respond. But guess what? They haven't been through the past 42 years of my life to have a clue as to even, 5% of what I've been through. Like, really? So they're not in my situation. Therefore, I love this. Do not swallow the opinions of other people. I actually release that and find that as one of the imbalances with my clients. Swallowing the opinions of other people actually makes you sick. So I'm going to come back to those friends that I was talking about. So I have some really super close friends, and I literally have, I would say, less than 5 people that I honestly confide in 100%, that I truly, truly trust. And I'm completely fine with that. And this is why. It's because these people all have some really, like, 2 traits in common. It makes them resonate with me and I trust them. And those are, they are very authentic, right? They never put on a show so that I'll like who they are. They never worry about how they're acting in front of me. And I feel the same way with them. I don't need to put on a show. I can be my authentic self. If I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm depressed, if I'm anxious, if I'm whatever, those two people, especially that I'm thinking of right now, they're very authentic and they're non judgmental. And do you know why? Is because, and I love this, what you do is none of my business. And I love that. You know, whenever I'm talking to them and I'm like, man, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, you know what other people do is none of my business. Those are the types of people that I want to surround myself with, because we don't sit around and talk crap about other people. We don't sit around and say, so and so should have done this, could have done this. We don't. We just say, wow, you know, that's the choice they made. I don't understand why they did what they did, but it's okay because it's not any of my business. And I'm not here to judge them. And that's why these people are so close to me. Now, I know because I do human design, and I will 100% tell you that you have a channel in your energy system that, if it is very defined, it creates this integrity and honesty line in your energy system. This is why I love human design, because I used to get around people and be like, wow, people just think I'm ego, that I have this huge ego, that I'm really stuck up, that I'm blah, blah, blah. And I really hated myself for it. And then I realized, no, it's okay if I get around certain people and they don't like the way that I feel, because my energy literally will zap you. If you are not being your authentic self, that is one of my channels that is full and defined and 100% aligned. And there's nothing that I can do to stop that. It is a very consistent energy that I have, and it makes other people very, very uncomfortable. Now, people like my 5 little friends, or however many there are, guess what? They're authentic. They're 100% aligned with who they are. They're not judgmental. And so they feel comfortable in my presence. And so I have learned that that is completely a beautiful thing, because it's like I have this almost like an internal taser, right? When I get around certain people, I know right away if they're like, ooh, I don't want anything to do with her. She is whatever, whatever. I'm like, perfect. You are not a good energy for me because you have things going on. And if a person's like, ooh, I really like being around you, you feel amazing as far as your energy goes, you're bubbly. And those are the types of people that I want to be around me, because they're also radiating authenticity. They're not being judgmental, you know, and I own it 100%. I will tell you that up until about a year ago, I would come on my Facebook page and I would call people out. If they pissed me off, I would come on here and I'd be like, so and so did this and this and this. And guess what? That wasn't the correct way to enhance my own energy, to increase my own vibration. And we're all here to learn. And so I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that because I used to be a big player in that field. If you're doing something wrong, I'm going to call you out. Now, does that mean that I just sit back and watch people do things that are, you know, hurtful to other people, or, you know, no. Like if I see somebody, um, I don't know. I can't think of like a super big example, but if I see somebody, hurting someone else, like I'm on a subway and someone's punching someone else, I'm not just going to sit back and be like, it's okay, because that's not any of my business, right? I mean, there's a place and a time to step in. There's a place and a time to say, hey, I saw, so-and-so steal a car from this house. Yeah, like I saw the person. Like I'm gonna voice that and say, yes, I saw what they looked like. It was this blah 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 blah, right? So kind of my boundary right there for that is, if a person is damaging something, hurting another person, I'm not going to sit idly. But as far as like, if someone is doing something that I feel is not ethical or is not up to the morals that I feel like that person should have, it's none of my business. And so if they want to go to church on Sunday, for example, and then during the week live completely outside of what they're going to church to do, that's not any of my business. It's taken me a long time to get to this space, but it's a beautiful space to be in. And, I mean, I'll tell you, like, it takes a lot to admit that I did some stuff that I'm like, nah, it wasn't any of my business. I shouldn't be calling out people for doing whatever they're doing. Um, and that's something that, like growth, right? Hashtag growth. And so there you go. All right. So here's what I'm going to leave you with. Monday Soul Deliciousness. How do you stay in this space? Center, feel all your feels. Clear expectations and judgment from yourself. Clear that away from what you expect and judge for other people. Clear that away from allowing the judgments and expectations of other people to affect you. And just find your center and be happy. One of the most hurtful things that I heard this week was, well, so and so says that you're just doing all this because you're happy. And that person couldn't support me in that space. And I was like, wow, that's a really, really, really sad thing. That if someone tells you that, Amy's in her super happy space, she's as balanced and healthy and happy as she's ever been, and that person couldn't align with that, that's a sad, sad space to be. And so what do? You have some compassion, you have some empathy for that person that they can't allow you to be there. And that's what you do. Instead of being angry, instead of being bitter, have empathy for other people for not being able to be in that happy space with you. All right, guys, that's what I'm going to leave you with today. Hope you have a beautiful rest of your Monday, and I will see you next